Hey everyone, welcome to another installment from Ampro Engineering. This is going to be another episode from the buyer's guide from a very new and unique vehicle from WPL. We have the new D60 series. What I'm seeing is a Toyota pickup CrewCab that has never been done, to my knowledge, in the RC platform as a hardbody, which is awesome. I think this is a 90s generation Toyota pickup. It does come in 4 flavors. You're going to be able to get your 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive versions with the stock body, stock bumper, and all that. You'll also get a 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive version with a flared fender and the more industrial looking bumper with all the extra goodies. Now, I don't know which this is. I've just gotten the box. The chassis is supposed to be very similar. So this is the D64-1. So the D64 is 4-wheel drive. The -1 means it has the extra, flared fenders and all the other kind of performance looking goodies on it. Here's what we have that is popped out of the box. I'm going to snip the zip ties and get it out. So this is the D64-1. What we're looking at here is pretty much a D-series chassis with, in this case, 4-wheel drive. This means I can see this chassis being, or at least parts of this chassis being leveraged on the other D-series cars. Like the other D cars, you do have the battery storage compartment there. So if we turn the wheel this way, it opens up. There's a little plate there that latches into this plate. So that drops in, you turn it, it stops, and the battery is secure in there. We do have front double wishbone suspension with it looks like a dual universal drive. Very nice. At the rear, we have a leaf spring. We do have a rear differential, and we've got actually a front diff as well. So that's very neat. What we're looking at here is not going to be an off-road vehicle, partly because it does have open axles. Secondly, because it's fairly small, it doesn't have much ground clearance, and most importantly, it does have the D-series transmission, which is not geared for torque. This is more of a, and I don't want to say high speed because it's not going to be that fast, but it's definitely designed for a higher speed than you typically would find on a vehicle intended for off-road. Cosmetically speaking, the body is well molded. It's a bit on the glossy, shiny side of things and white. I can't say that I like the white. However, it is a fantastic foundation to paint it another color. We do have holes for signals and driving lights at the rear. So it tells me that this likely has the same or similar lighting set that you would use on the other D-series cars. There's definitely a hole there for a headlight. There's one there for a parking light, and then your turn signals here at the bottom. So these have all got holes. There's a little slit there for a winch. So I'm wondering if there's actually a spot inside. The interior is remarkably closed up. It looks like you've got to pull quite a bit off to disassemble the body, which means a little more work if you're going to customize it, but it seems very sturdy, very stiff. The only rattling I'm hearing is just the power cord that's in the back. In fact, I can't even see any electrical. The wiring for the batteries likely is in the channel for the frame. Tires, very nicely done. I like the wheels. Unfortunately, like the other D-series cars, these tires are overmolded onto basically a much larger wheel. And as a result, you've got, it's a rubber tire, but it's a rubber tire that has no sidewall flex, which is kind of unfortunate. Remote control is your standard D-series. You've got your steering and throttle rate that will allow the truck to steer more or less. Same with the throttle, go faster or slower. It is a fully proportional system. I own quite a number of these, and they've always been rock solid. In the case of this remote, we do have a soft touch texture on this, which I'm never a fan of. It feels fine right now, but they typically don't last very long. I don't know if these modern soft touches work better. I do like these remotes. They do feel a little bit cheap, but functionality-wise, they are all there. The instruction manual does show information for both vehicles. I want to put the battery in the car. These are relatively new to WPL. The last few vehicles that I've reviewed do have these batteries. They run forever. They just run forever and ever. But it's, I don't know if it's proprietary to WPL, but I don't know of any other RC cars that use this. They've chosen this path because it does reduce the number of plugs that you'll normally have to deal with. The remote is 2 AA's, and they do come with a small screw that holds the door on. This is not there to annoy you. This is intended for small children. If the remote does fall on the ground, the battery door pops off. It's simply safer to have the batteries restrained in the enclosure. That's why that's there. Power this up. Power the car on. Left the wiggle the wheel to bind. And there you have it. So in terms of steering, again, fully proportional. Let's see if we can increase or decrease the rate. So we're increasing it there. In terms of its out-of-the-box suspension flex, let's see what we can get out of this thing here. Again, things have got to break in, right? So you're looking at about, what, 15 or so millimeters of travel without lifting the other tires, which, if this was a real truck, I don't suspect that it would have all that much articulation either. I don't know that we're looking at a rock crawler. This is, again, based on the D-Series vehicles, and the D-Series trucks are known for their drifting. It is the first non-1/10 scale D-Series vehicle. Since the others are K trucks, they are significantly smaller, and thus it's possible to have a 1/10 scale vehicle on a 1/16 scale chassis. This, however, is a larger vehicle, so it is smaller in size. In fact, if you do own any other WPLs, I've got the Land Cruiser here. It's a bit of an exaggeration here because obviously this is a four-linked vehicle on a higher chassis and all that. But the Land Cruiser is a larger vehicle than the Toyota Hilux. So I would say if we kind of compare them in terms of their width, this is remarkably in line with a 1/16 scale vehicle. It does feel smaller only because the D-Series cars are just a little bit more exaggerated, and this one here does feel tiny. For size reference, do you see what I'm talking about? These are the same platforms. The Suzuki looks like it's 4 times bigger. Part of that is the wheels on this truck here tuck in underneath like they're supposed to, whereas the wheels on this one here do protrude a bit. Part of that is for cosmetic appeal. It does look pretty tough like that. But it's to hide the fact that this is a relatively small body and this is a relatively large body. Flipping it over, we can see, yeah, it's the exact same chassis. They do make 2 wheelbases, and it looks like this is the longer of the wheelbases. But yeah, these do have spools at the rear, whereas this truck has the diff and in the back and in the front. So yeah, there's a pretty meaty size difference there. Checking out what this came with, we do have our roll bar lights. We've got 5 of them, so you got 1 spare. Oh, look at that. You got roll bar light lenses, which is what I created for the C14. So you can put LEDs in here and have those light up. Very nice. You've got a snorkel right there. That's for the top of the snorkel, so you got a spare one of those as well. Over here, we've got door handles, wiper. We've got the license plate. License plates go under the tailgate, and you got the one that covers up the little mount for the winch. We've got some chrome side view mirrors. We've got some chrome. Actually, these aren't chrome. These are actually metal reflective mirrors. And what else? We have some standard WPL stickers, taillight stickers, stickers to go everywhere else, and then you've got your 4-pin charger. Before we take this for a spin, and don't worry, I'm not going to modify it just yet, but before we take it out, I want to look at an alternative. We've also got the 2-wheel drive variation. Just to confirm, we are at the D62. To keep things simple, 62, 62. The 2 means 2-wheel drive, the 4 means 4-wheel drive, and the 1 is the flared fender and custom bumper body. All right, here's the truck. It's got a couple of zip ties that are holding it in place. I can't say that I love the packaging. It's not nearly as reusable as the other ones were. When I initially saw this one, I said, that's pretty cool. I'm not a big fan of the fenders or the aftermarket, kind of more industrial bumper, but it's still pretty neat. Then this came and I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly the way I would do it. I'm a big fan of stock. So the stock chrome bumper, the stock wheel arches, that's all me. Now, one of the first things I noticed was that the wheel arches on the flared version do cover the whole wheel, which is really cool. Whereas on this one here, they don't. I do plan on 3D printing new wheels and tires. Unfortunately, I don't know what I can do about that because a lot of the suspension and steering hub are actually inside the confines of the wheel, which is a nice design, but it does make room a little bit more of a premium. Underneath, we can see a very familiar face. It's just the D series chassis for the most part. Like the last one we looked at, we're going to see a lot of the same features, a nice full interior, a very nicely molded body. However, at the front, that's where we're going to see the changes. And again, personal preference, I like to go stock. The little overrider looks very neat, and I noticed that on this version, you've got your little slot for your winch, but unfortunately here you don't. Or do you? There it is, hidden under the license plate, which is super cool. I really like seeing that. We're going to have the same headlights. You've got your same battery mounting location at the rear. I would have liked to have seen a more stock-looking bumper, but hey, guess what? That just means I'm going to make one. And I already have for the FMS, which is the earlier body style. So I think we'll just have to adapt that to this one. I think overall it's, kind of got the same look and feel of this one here because they effectively do look identical. The big difference is this one's four-wheel drive, this one's two-wheel drive. Oh, it just occurred to me that the body, oh yeah, it's got the different turn signals like the truck is supposed to have for the non-flared fender versus the flared fender variation. I think this is the four-wheel drive, right? And this is the non-four-wheel drive. That didn't occur to me until now. Sorry, I got distracted there. That was a nice attention to detail that I almost missed. So at this point, I do want to take this one and this one for a drive and see how they behave. Doing this all one-handed, so heads up. This truck really didn't surprise me all that much. I'm a huge fan of the D-Series cars, and this behaves like the D-Series cars. I like the look of it. I would like to see it a little bit lower. So basically any complaint I really have about this one here is purely cosmetic and purely preferential. Where I will say I was surprised was this one. Starting off, I really didn't care for it. I'm still trying to look beyond the white. I think the white bodies on both of these make them look a little bit cheap, if I'm honest. However, the white body is also a great way to, as I mentioned earlier, customize the vehicle. So that aside, I don't know, I couldn't figure out what to do with this, right? You see four-wheel drive, you see truck, you see burly bumper and roll bar, you think off-road. So the truck initially wasn't really telling me what it wanted to do. So I took it for a drive. There was a little bit of dirt I went through, and it didn't do all that well because given the higher gear ratio, you tend to have to give it a lot more power to do anything, so it'll get stuck and all of a sudden it'll just lunge, right? And that's not very scale. Then I was walking back to the office and I just started driving in the street, and all of a sudden it started driving like a touring car. When it started doing that, I started to realize, wait a minute, it just looks like a 4x. It actually technically isn't a 4x4. It's more of a Toyota-bodied four-wheel drive on-road car, and I think that's what we're looking at here. Now, in the office, again, I'm no drifter. Let's be very clear about this. But driving it around the table like I was, we've got a really slick concrete floor. This thing was a lot of fun over there. I've still got to take some of these cars out to the drift track near the house and just play with them a little bit more. But this truck began to grow on me toward the end of the drive. But the real question is, do you want one? This is a little bit difficult for me, guys, because with WPL cars, I don't just like WPL cars. I love them. I really do. I have a massive amount of fun with these cars. They're reliable for me. They're easy to transport. They drive effectively. They seem to drive miles on their, single little battery pack here. I'm a huge fan. My kids are a huge fan. I love WPLs. However, I can't say that I'm in love. I'm not going to say I don't like them, but I'm not in love with them. And to be frank, I don't know why. I think that I'm seeing a certain style of vehicle, and what I'm seeing is different than I think what it was supposed to be. I doubt WPL envisioned this to be an off-roader. This one here strikes me more as what it really is, a little rear drive on-road car. Yeah, it's lifted and all that, but it doesn't really tell me nearly as much as this one here that, hey, I want to be four-wheel drive. So I think you got to get that out of your head early on here. We're not looking at off-roaders. We're looking at just another style of on-road cars in the same vein as the D-Series. So the question of do you want one is a little tough. I think what we're going to have here is a vehicle that is a smaller form factor than other K-Car D-Series vehicles, because although they're roughly the same length, they're a lot smaller in terms of bulk. These are 1/16-ish scale versus, again, the D-Series, which are 1/10 scale. Anyway, folks, on this one here, it's not so cut and dry for me. I appreciate what WPL has done. I'm not in love. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, but either way, I hope I provided you some information on whether or not you are interested in one of these, or whether, like me, you're excited to see a new four-wheel drive D-Series chassis, which means we might start seeing some four-wheel drive K-cars. My friends, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.